pretty cool. Yeah.
Vanessa Kirby is pretty much the she's like, oh yeah, no, she is Wonder Woman. She is, or not Wonder Woman, Miss Fantastic. It's like, yeah, Sue Storm. It is like, nah, that's it. That she's the winner in that fan cast.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
she's a knockout. Good choice.
She is indeed a knockout. You know who else is a knockout?
Who's that?
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Pixel. My name is Kevin. With me, as always, is Phil. On today's show, we are continuing on through the seventh guest, a novel by Matthew J. Costello and Craig Shaw Gardner. We're rounding the corner with part 2.
This is a book.
It is a novel.
Yeah.
Is it a novel? How many words are in this? Is it skirt novella?
I mean, you know, I'll tell you, it's like 210 pages, but the chapters are really short, and the formatting the words are just a little too big. I don't know. It might be some might argue it's a long novella, like 150 pages if you put it in kind of your more standard.
Yeah, and isn't it even
format.
like it's based on word count too, isn't it? Wouldn't it be cut off 50,000 words?
I think 50,000 is when you generally see it as a novel.
Yeah.
So yeah, something like that.
I'm going to count the words in this damn book, and I'm going to do it live on the show
right now. We really should wait to stream it, and we can like pick a charity. And you'll
chapter 1. The word 1. That's 1. The word nothing. That's 2.
Kevin's going to Andy Kaufman his way through this 3.
Andy would have kept going.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
And that would have been that. You know.
That would have been that.
Or either that, or Jerry the King Lawler would have appeared out of nowhere, broken a steel chair over his head.
Right. You would have. It's like that would be hilarious. We get somebody to like just jump into the background behind you and just fucking pile drive you.
I appreciate the fact that Jerry Lawler kept up the kayfabe regarding his feud with Andy Kaufman even after Andy died, because that's the way Andy would have wanted it.
That's exactly what he would have wanted. And that's the kayfabe is what attracted Andy to it in the first place. How was he not supposed to go for that? It's beautiful. It's tailor-made for him.
I just remember watching a documentary just on his pro wrestling, Andy Kaufman's pro wrestling stuff.
Nice.
Years ago. I was a kid, and I was like, it was on like, I don't know, the Saturday morning cartoons were over. I was just sitting there, and this thing comes on a channel, and it's about, you know, Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. And I was like, this is fascinating. And I remember Bob Saget was on there, and there's a bunch of people interviewed just talking about it. And I think Jerry was one of the people interviewed, but it was neat. It was kind of a neat thing.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. R.I.P. Andy. You would have hated where SNL went.
Oh yeah, I would not have been happy unless he could get on there and fuck shit up like once every season or so. Then he would have probably gone with it.
Yeah, but you were. He was one of those people that was way too. It was too much for this world.
Too much.
You know?
Too much. Yeah. Too much.
The world couldn't take it and spat him back out.
I'm not going to act like I always understood or appreciated Andy Kaufman's humor.
Oh no! Like, let me be clear. Majority of his stuff falls flat for me. But
but I think it's kind of like John Waters. I'm not a huge John Waters. I'm not a huge fan of John Waters' work.
Yeah.
I just love that he exists. I find people like John Waters to be necessary to the fabric of our culture. And
Waters, Kaufman, Andy Kaufman, David Lynch.
Absolutely.
Is in the same, category. Although I think 100%. I appreciate David Lynch's work more than the other two.
I've grown to,
I think they're kind of in the same space. Have you watched Twin Peaks? Have you?
I a long time ago watched it, and I keep telling myself. You see, we were talking about how me and my wife are watching the Watchmen TV series. I keep talking about us watching Twin Peaks, and maybe
Yeah.
maybe you should take that opportunity because we watched.
Yeah.
What did we? After he died, we watched Eraserhead. We watched Mulholland Drive, and we watched is it? It's not Wild at Heart, is it? It's or is it? It's the one with Laura Dern and Nicolas Cage.
Oh, I thought that was Wild at Heart. But
is it Wild at Heart?
Maybe.
But shit! It is Wild at Heart. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's totally it. We watched those in rapid succession, and it was a really educational kind of thing because at that point I'd only ever really seen I saw it but barely remembered Eraserhead, and I'd seen Blue Velvet.
Yeah. Blue Velvet, I think, is my favorite of his stuff, but
that one is fucking fever dream. We're definitely gonna have to get to that one.
Yeah, with what's his name?
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper is getting doing shots of nitrous.
yeah. Baby wants to fuck. Fuck that shit. Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Heineken.
Oh man! See, now we have to watch that shit. I did it. I did it again.
You did it again.
Did it again.
Yeah, and you know who else did it again are the people over at patreon.com/pixelitpod.
Bless their souls.
We love so much. You can join for free. We love you for free. You can join at $1. We love you at $1. You can join at $5. We love you slightly less for some reason. I'm just kidding. We love you just as much at $5. Yeah. At $10, we really love you so much that I get to shout out your name in the episode. So speaking of love, Jesus loves you. Kyle Seaman, Ruthless Mutter, Middle of Things, Sigma Sal, Chet Beaks Down a Thick, Langolier, and Friendly Friend. Thank you for being a friend. PixelitPod.com or patreon.com/pixelitpod. Do it today. So what do you want to put this body in the marsh, or
let's that marsh seems devoid of a body. Let's rectify the situation. What do you say?
Hey, let's put 7 bodies in the marsh.
Seven bodies.
7 bodies in the marsh.
Police have confirmed that the body of the man found dead in the Fenway marshes yesterday afternoon is that of Timothy Delahunt, an undercover policeman for the city of Boston.
And it's appropriate that you say that because in chapter 13, we got at this a little bit last episode, but it's getting very Clue. We get the guests have arrived. Everyone's got there. We've been introduced to them at this point, but this is our beginning of them as a group. So they're all huddled outside of the door. They can't get inside of the door. Get inside of the house. You don't want to get inside of the door. Anyway, I'm not going to Carlin all over this thing. So the magician discovers a panel that will open the door.
Or George Carlin?
George.
Okay.
Like getting in the plane versus getting on the plane.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dan Carlin would have much issue with that. You're talking about the history of the door, though.
Oh yeah, it would be fascinating, I'm sure. But yeah. No. So instead of, and I do find this very funny because they get to the door, they knock, nobody comes by. And I think anybody in that situation would just be like, okay, they're not there. We are moving on. But they take this as a test of like, clearly we're meant to be in here. So Temple, the magician, he finds a panel in the door that will open the door. They end up in the dining room where everybody's got a plate and a note. And Kevin actually points out it's written in a really weird way where it says, there were
7 plates with 7 notes. And I'm like, so there's 7 notes per plate, or there's 7, right. And like there's 7 plates and 7 notes.
On the way to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives.
Met a man with 7 wives. How many were on the way to St. Ives? The answer is 1.
144. No.
144. Seven
But
sexes, seven kittens.
so-
I can't stop. I can't do it without thinking about Jeremy Irons saying it.
no, and nor should you. Nor should you. We're getting a nice eyeful of him as Ozymandias in the Watchmen TV show, and I forgot how just chewy he is with that scenery.
Yeah,
My
he's
God,
on
he's
the
having
what is
fun.
he? He's on the moon or something, I guess.
Yeah, out on the
Spoilers
moon,
if you
like,
haven't
yeah.
watched.
Oh
And
man, it's
he's
so
on the
good.
moon, and he's Ozymandias, and you don't realize that until like halfway through the series.
And
You
he's
just keep cutting
lonely
away
and
to the sky. It's like,
fucking
oh, it's
losing
Adrian
his
Veidt.
mind.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so
And they
good.
sent him to the moon for his plot
Yeah,
with the aliens, because the series is a sequel to the comics, not a sequel to the
yes,
Zack Snyder. So it was Aliens. It was the comic
a
ending
giant squid monster.
of Squid Monsters. And the fact that they keep up the ruse is hilarious.
Oh
of
yeah,
the random squid like falling out of the sky.
yeah. It's such a. I gotta say, I remember when that show was announced, and like a lot of shows like that, I was like, this. Why are we fucking doing this? This is not necessary. Let's make something new, etc. Like I normally do. And I remember watching, because I think you and Keeler and a bunch of other people we knew were like, maybe watch it.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, well, this is the wrongest I've ever been about that, because they truly understood the world, and more to the point, they understood the consequences and how it would move forward without it feeling super fan servicey. And
Right.
it's basically a tutorial on how to make a sequel long after the fact.
Right.
It's
And
brilliant.
I know Alan Moore was like, but Alan Moore is not happy about anything. So
no, Alan Moore's. I love Alan Moore, but he's out of his goddamn mind. He worships a snake god. Let's all just chill out when it comes to taking his opinion too seriously.
Yeah.
You can listen to the man, but Jesus. Okay, so they got the dining room, St. Ives. They find that they are waiting on a mysterious seventh guest. And as they're discussing this, a cake appears out of nowhere. It's just there.
There's a cake.
It's a cake. And we find out that it's a puzzle. There are symbols all over it, and the puzzle is to cut everyone a slice that has the same amount of each symbol. So it's like crossword puzzling this poor cake. This is indeed a puzzle in the game.
This poor cake.
This poor cake, it's just turned into Tetris pieces. It's absurd. And we get that this is kind of the first like in-depth puzzle we get in this book. And I don't know if I love or truly hate how it's handled, because literally the magician just goes, "Here, I've solved it." And that's it. And he
cuts the cake.
And they don't explain it. They don't describe it. They just say he solved it. And on one hand,
he needs to cut the cake up, and he cuts the cake up.
On one hand, that's some of the laziest writing of all time. On the other hand, if they had gone into detail about it, I'd be bitching about that.
Yeah.
So, that, what are you supposed to do? There's no winning it. We get to chapter 14. Eleanor knocks. Eleanor is spelled Elinor, and that will never not drive me crazy.
Elinor.
Elinor. Yeah. She's getting a bad feeling, and we get some suggestion.
By the way, Eleanor, I think I spaced or I misread it. Eleanor is the one who was invited, not Edward.
Was it? Is that?
It's for Eleanor, I think. I think Eleanor is the guest, and Edward is the guy who's just there.
I think he was invited, and she they kind of imply at some point that she's just tagging along or something. But yeah, because chapter 2, blah blah blah. Tried the ponies. Gambling debts, envelope in his pocket. It doesn't really say.
I get the vibe that it was actually Eleanor was the guest and Edward was just there. Um,
I mean, that could
but
be interesting.
I might be wrong.
I know the way that this goes, the direction it goes, if that's the case, that would be particularly interesting.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. But Eleanor has this awful, she gets a Han Solo. She gets a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of little implications that she has these spells where she's kind of vaguely psychic. It's very, very well-off white lady, kind of like, ooh, where are your crystals? That kind of thing. She retreats to the kitchen to kind of get her bearings, where she hears a knocking at a nearby door and she goes to open it. And we cut back to the dinner party, where her husband, Edward, is fucking Martine.
Just really into her.
Yeah, they are flirting with each other like crazy. And Martine is like super into it. And she suggests that they should partner up, take it however you like. And they excuse themselves to a bedroom upstairs to make plans. And this is all, and by the way, the whole thing is right in front of everybody except for his wife, conveniently enough. It's kind of like if you've ever been to the bar or a party or something with a group of people and you're all hanging out and talking and two of them are clearly just like flirting like crazy. And you're like, oh, you guys are going to swallow each other's DNA after the game or whatever. And everyone's uncomfortable. That's basically what's happening here. So we cut to Temple, the magician. He is in a library. He finds that the books are all false shelves. They're all kind of like painted on, but then he finds there's a single book there that's real. And he takes it out. It's a book on chess. He looks outside into the garden and this living mist kind of like forces its way up against the window and he can't take his eyes off of it. It really scares the shit out of him. It seems very threatening. And he realizes that if he has to leave in a hurry, he ain't going out the garden. I'm
gonna be honest with you. Gases and mists and such, they don't register on the scary scale.
That's a very specific one, I think, for a lot of people. It's
like, there's a mist billowing in the cloud, and be like, fuck it, give me something tangible. Now, The Mist is a scary movie, but that's because the stuff in the mist.
Right. And maybe Stephen King's one of his best work.
Yeah. Same with The Fog.
It's not
which I consider a lesser Carpenter work, but still, it's not the fog itself that's scary. So, but whenever somebody's like, "Oh, the mist," ooh, but like, you're not getting me with the mist.
Have something hop out of the mist and scare me.
Miss me with the mist.
But this is actually a rare instance where it's the mist itself that's threatening. Like he personifies the mist. It's not something's in it raking its claws against the window or something. It's the mist itself that is like threatening him, which is kind of rare.
It's why smoke monsters or whatever.
Oh, sure.
Like the more recent Fantastic Four where Galactus was a cloud.
Oh,
shit like that. Don't do it. If you're just starting out as a horror writer, leave the smoke monster, leave the mist at home. You might find it scary. Most people, I'm going to speak for most people and say it's kind of fucking dumb. I'm looking at
Kevin's
you.
Got your number. Kevin's got your number. Amateur horror writers.
Amateur horror writer that's listening.
He'll be watching.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many. We cut to Elinor. She is opening the door that was being knocked on. There's nobody there. She continues around because it's this door down at the bottom of some stairs, and she continues down this corridor and basically finds herself lost in this maze of halls and corridors downstairs. And there's this shuffling sound that she can't quite place. It's right next to her one minute. She should be able to see something, but she can't. And then she's running her hands along the wall. They're wet, and it appears to be blood. And then she is splashed with more red blood, and something cold and dead feels around at her feet. That is chapter 14. Chapter 15 opens with Tad, our boy character, our seventh
guest. At this point, I said to Phil, like, chapter 15 just kind of becomes a Stephen King novel for a little bit.
We get super Stephen King-y here. There's no question.
Right down to the F slur. Tossed about pretty casually. Let me tell you, Stephen King early on was not afraid of the N-word, the F-word. He was not afraid of anything really in terms of just casually typing a slur into his work.
Right. And we don't want to suggest that he was like, it wasn't Stephen King saying these words.
No,
he was
not
just
Stephen King saying it.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, you have a character, like he would write a character who would say it a lot, which,
right.
Your mileage may vary on whether it's totally necessary for the story, but I think he's kind of,
if Stephen King wrote that into a script and cast himself as that character who says it about 500 times while they're trying to clean up a couple of hitmen who are covered in blood.
Tarantino.
Oh, right. I knew someone had done that. Huh. Now that might be a horse of a different color. That might be an F word of a different color. But Yeah. But yeah, what Kevin's getting at is that Tad, our young man, the boy, they don't really say, I think, how old he is. He's the boy.
Assume they're like 13-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And it's him and all of his schoolmates, and they have one of them is harassing him and calling him a slur over and over again until he agrees to break into the Stauff mansion. So he breaks in through a kitchen window. There's a pot on the boil there, and he smells something weird coming from that. And then suddenly hears a scream outside of the room. We cut to Dutton, who is also searching the house. Basically, at this point, everyone's kind of like just scattered to their own corners of the house. Again, very Clue. Everyone's at their own corners of the house. Dutton's searching, and he starts hearing a choir in the distance, and the choir gets louder and louder and louder until it's just blaring in his ears, and he screams and passes out. We cut to Julia Heine, who hears the scream. We get the same shtick with her where she's like, I don't know, the same white lady shtick of like, I've always been a little psychic, which she thinks she's clairvoyant. It's just hilarious. It happens to both of these women. But I will say her character, Julia Heine's character, seems more like the full of shit one. Eleanor is a way more sympathetic character in the sense that you're like, oh, okay, maybe she does have a touch of something. Julia Heine just strikes.
Julia Heine is your friend from high school who started an Instagram account to talk about crystals.
Right. That's what she is. She's getting hammered, by the way. So she runs off to find Dutton screaming. Edward, lucky enough, hears Eleanor screaming. He finds her downstairs. He does not see the blood that she saw earlier, and actually neither does she. Everything seems fine. ?
Mm-hmm.
Martine finds Temple staring into the mist out the garden window, and she kind of shakes him out of it. And Temple calls a house meeting, like one of your roommates pissed you off because they never did the dishes. That's it. He basically says, all right, house meeting. We cut to Stauff watching from a distance. Like, it doesn't say this, but I'm just imagining a control room with like 50 TV monitors.
He's watching from a distance, and there's no control room or TV monitors specified.
Right.
So just at this point, imagine he's staring at a wall and going,
yeah. It's the FMV thing where like it just cuts to him going, "I'll get them all." Yeah, it does. That's honestly, that's the scene with him.
Okay.
They imply that basically everyone there is going to meet a bad end, one way or the other. Chapter 16, everybody regroups. The trio who was traumatized by different things try to convince the trio who wasn't of the things that they heard and saw, etc. And no one seems convinced. It didn't happen to me, and therefore it doesn't exist. And then shortly after that, everyone just kind of scatters again. It goes off on their own. That was the extent of the house meeting. So we come back to Julia Heine. She is in the kitchen that Tad was in. There's the pot with the stew. She finds a bunch of cans on the shelves of the wall. They all have different letters, and she rearranges them to say something. We do not know what it is that they say. And I have to assume this is because they didn't want spoilers for the video game.
For the game?
In their book. This book that came out like 2 years after the book, by the way.
So is that why they don't tell you how to solve the cake puzzle? They just say you solved it?
I think that's what it is. I think that's their reasoning. To which I would say, why not create a new puzzle or something? So we find out that basically it is a clue. You're supposed to spell something out, but I think everyone picked up on that. This is also a puzzle that's in the game. So when she puts everything in the right order and it says, I don't know, don't forget to drink your Ovaltine or whatever. She starts hearing the pot bubbling over behind her, and which is crazy because when she got there, the pot was still. Tad has been hiding in the kitchen, and he sees all of this, and he basically has a these people are out of their mind moment, and just kind of sneaks past her. We got to Temple, who has found their rooms.
Because to Tad, the haunting stuff is not happening. He's just watching these people like act like whoa, and he's like, what the fuck is wrong with these adults?
if Tad at this age hasn't already had a moment where he realizes that adults are just as full of shit as kids, he's having it now.
That there is no such thing as growing up. You just become the same person you were, and you keep going.
You're kind of given permission to do more of the stuff that maybe you wouldn't do as a kid because you were afraid you'd get in trouble.
Yep. That's pretty much it.
So that's what he's dealing with. Poor Tad. That's not easy on anybody. Temple is upstairs. He's found their rooms. There are 7 rooms with 7 name tags for each one of them. Everyone's name is on a different room. Eleanor is there. She has found her room, and she says that she's not sure that she wants to go in. She points out that she's realized that everybody who's there wants something, whether it's like Martine wants men, I guess. I don't know. And her husband has debts, and he needs to pay off his debts, and basically she points out that everybody there wants something. And so she looks at Temple and says, well, what is it that you want?
I want real magic in the world.
Yeah. And I don't know. He
doesn't want the magic for himself. He just wants to know if magic exists in the world.
Right. And if that were my wish, if I was up against like people with like millions of dollars in debt and like all that shit, I'd lie. If it was like, I just want to know if the bunny's real when it comes out the hat. Like, I think I'd lie, and say, my grandmother's sick. I don't know, like just something, because that just feels kind of silly. And she shares with him that she knows how much her husband is in debt. And that's probably why they're there. And again, this is where you really do start to sympathize with her. She is just dealing with all of this weird, horrific stuff while her husband has literally wandered away with a piece of ass. So she's not in a good place.
Yeah.
Chapter 17, Temple enters his bedroom and finds that it's basically a shrine to him. It's filled with old magician movies, posters from like the shows he used to do. And there are relics from those days and everything. And he finds a turban that's there and showing the sense and responsibility that all adults have inherently in them, Tad. He puts on the turban and it kind of makes him snap. He gets a little manic and he starts, and he thinks something like, I'll let the show go on, but I need my beautiful assistant first.
Yes,
so-
I need my beautiful
Yes.
assistant. At this point, it's just Peter Lorre.
That's exactly it. He's just crazy as size. And so Brian Dutton finds him, and Temple is summoning a woman. This beautiful, I assume half-naked woman who's reaching out to them both. And as the illusion continues, she begins to age horribly, like down to desiccated bone, and then splits in half. Like a horrible inversion of the old sawing the woman in half trick. It's kind of crazy, and I think Dutton like pulls the turban off of Temple, or maybe Temple like throws it off, or it comes off, one way or the other. And Temple gets a hold of himself, and based on everything that he's seen, these are tricks. As far as he's concerned, these are tricks that Stauff left for him. That this is part of his reward. This is what Stauff wants for him. So in other words, he takes away completely the wrong message of the situation, and he very clearly decides that he wants this power.
Yeah.
Temple, you fucking idiot.
Temple, you fucking idiot. What's his other Temple? What's his? Is that his? I can't remember. That's his last name, right?
I honestly don't remember. I think it is. I think it is his last name. That's one of those names that I'm going to call him. Oh, Hamilton Temple. That's what
Hamilton Temple. He's got two last names.
Yeah. He was already kicking water uphill. It was never going to work out for him.
Hamilton Temple doesn't want to throw away his shot.
It doesn't. It doesn't, especially if that shot will help him to transform illusion ladies into corpses.
He just wants to be in the room where it happens.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I hated that musical so much. That's my incredibly controversial but brave statement. I hated it. Chapter 18, we cut to Elinor Knox. She has entered her and her husband's room. It is like very old-fashioned, like very classically decorated. It's filled with antiques, and you just kind of imagine like strong German wooden furniture, handmade craftsmanship.
Yeah.
We get she comes to a rug that has kind of a maze embroidered on the outside of it, and we get a moment where she kind of follows the maze with her finger and solves it. This is another one of the puzzles, and after that it just disappears. Nothing matters after that. It's just a thing that she does.
Nothing ever happens.
No, it's true. We get some inner monologue. She has misgivings about her husband. She talks about how it's really funny because she talks about how it's always been the two of them and she could always rely on him until now with this woman. And I just want to be like, honey, if he ran after this one random piece of strange that hard, that fast, he has done this before. This is not, I hate to break it to you, but this is not his first cheating rodeo.
Right.
So she's feeling some misgivings. And as she's thinking about this young man appears out of nowhere and basically tries to seduce her. And wants her to run away with him and everything. And for a second, she's kind of into it.
Everybody's getting shining.
It's all the corpse lady in the bathtub. That's what it is. It's that over and over and over again. Because she starts to get into it, then she last second is like, no, I don't want to, I'm not going to do that. I'm married and I care about my husband. And he turns into an old man and basically becomes Stauf. And he's leering at her.
Well, first he becomes a tree monster.
Right. Oh, yeah. His arm turns into a vine and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked that. I thought that was because like his hand grips her arm and she looks down and it's not a hand. It's a vine. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. It is Groot. It's a horrifying Groot. More so. I mean, meanwhile, Martine is seducing the shit out of Edward, in her bedroom. So much, I'm just going to say this now. She is so over the top with how hard she is seducing this guy that in this part of the chapter, I assumed, and we'll find out this is not so, but I assumed at this point that she was possessed by a ghost or something like that. Like that she has, or that she was an illusion version of herself, that Stauf had like arranged to take out Edward or something. But that is not the case. So she seduces him. She tells him that she wants to team up, and then they have a quick dab of sex. And that's chapter 18.
Just a dab will do ya.
Just a dab of sex. Quick. No, there's no time for a lot of foreplay. We're in a haunted mansion.
We're in a haunted mansion, and were we playing by the rules of every other horror story, this would have meant that you were the next people killed, but
100%. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We cut to chapter 19. Tad is sneaking past Eleanor now as she solves the rug maze, and he enters the game room because the seventh room, I forgot to mention this, Temple found the seventh room, which doesn't have a name on it for the seventh guest, and it's a game room. It's filled with games of every stripe. So Tad finds that area. Temple is also in the game room. He finds a chess set. The chess set has pieces that the 7 pieces are carved with all of their faces and the face of a little boy that he doesn't recognize. And he starts to kind of infer that what Stauf is doing is going to require all of their life energy or something. It's a real reach. It's a real stretch from, I want to learn these powers, to, wait a minute, you're going to suck away our life force or something. He just kind of assumes something bad is going to happen now. And when he sees that the 7th guest is a little boy, he flips out, and he will not allow this to happen. And he turns and sees there's Tad, the wide-eyed, urchin. I can't help myself. I keep
Tad's like, I'm Tad. I'm a urchin.
I keep imagining him as this like Dawkins era, Dickensian, like street urchin. I can't help myself.
Dawkins. Clean your chimney, sir.
Yeah, I just like, hey, Penny, sir.
Penny.
I cannot help myself. This is how I imagine it. Chapter 20, the same figure that we met at the very end of last episode, this anonymous figure, is wandering the halls, seeing ghosts everywhere. This is a very ethereal kind of character. This character has also heard the nursery rhymes about Stauf, and now hears nursery rhymes with extra verses now. It's continuing the story basically through the verses. And now they have details about the boy. And it very vaguely says now that he knows now what he has to do. So that's chapter 20. Chapter 21, we get Martine and Edward, assumedly post-coitus, maybe a cigarette.
Assume a cigarette.
I assume, yeah,
it's 1935 or whenever the fuck it is.
It's 1930 bad, and you're allowed to smoke indoors without people assuming you're trash. They find a portrait room. It's filled with old paintings of all these different people. They're all really kind of unnerving portraits, and they find a puzzle. A painting that is a puzzle basically, and it's like a move the square kind of puzzle. I have to imagine it's just different colors, and he has to figure out the right way to get all the different pieces so that they're the right color, and it just looks like Stauf, as the case may be. And when the puzzle is finished, it reveals background images behind, because they say the portraits, the figures in the portraits are not all that messed up. It's the stuff happening behind them.
Right.
Like if you never actually looked in the background of the Mona Lisa, for example, take a look. It's pretty cool. It's foggy and spooky and it's really interesting. And it's that kind of thing with this. So they see in the background of this painting of Stauff, the two of them dragging a little boy towards something, and they realize that they have to find this kid and offer him up to Stauff in order to get their prize, basically. And then the paintings go nuts. You remember that scene in Black Swan? They all go crazy. The little boy painting like has shark teeth and says something about like, you think my eyes are big. Wait until you see my mouth. And it's like, no one said anything about your eyes. Shut up. And it's that scene from Black Swan. All the pictures are going, and losing their minds. So they run out.
We got a munchkin.
Uh-oh. Speaking of, she came at just the right time. Spooky children. Hello.
Hi, kid.
Hey, kid, how you doing? Good. Oh, you wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt?
Are you reading Hamilton?
No, we are.
Then why not hear Hamilton lines?
Because there's a guy named Hamilton in this story.
Yeah, no, we are not. There wasn't enough throwing up from me and your dad for it to be Hamilton. Or at least from me. I hate that musical. So it isn't.
Yes, she's wearing an Iron Maiden
shirt,
right?
Yep. Okay, yeah. Sick. That's awesome. Metal forever, kid. I love it. I love it. Is your hair still blue?
Yeah.
You got any blue left? I can't tell that the background's kind of foggy.
Like
Oh, yeah. Look at that. There it is.
You're just asking if you have blue hair left.
Yes, I still have blue hair. I'll probably dye it soon.
Good. Well, you'll be pleased to know that Graham is walking a little bit here and there. The problem is he gets too confident and then he falls on his face and cries. But he's getting there. We're very proud.
Yeah. Thank you for visiting, Camilla.
Bye, sweetie. That's cool. She like fades into the background. Of the fog. That's who says the fog isn't scary. Yes. I love it. We haven't had a Munchkin on in a while. That was great.
Yeah, it's a good Munchkin visit.
Good Munchkin visit. Okay. Yeah, we cut to Julia, who is hammered. She has been drinking since they got in there. She has completed the can puzzle, the mystery of the cans.
The mystery of drinking beer.
Right, well, yeah. And the pot is bubbling up and bubbling oil over, and a horrifying red-faced man just kind of like ascends from the stew. It starts out as like this big piece of meat, and the big piece of meat's eyes open and then a horrible mouth. It's very Hellraiser. It's actually pretty cool. It looks evil to her at first, but then she kind of decides that it's there to help her based on absolutely nothing. So I feel like things are going to go pretty well for Julia.
I think so. She's right there on the spot, you know?
She's got it. She's got it figured out. She knows better than us, because she's there. And the chapter ends with them smiling at each other. So what could possibly happen?
What could go wrong?
Nothing. Not a damn thing. We get to chapter 22. It's another short one. Stauff is back in his control room, watching everything unfold. He has another you think you're better than me moment. I'm going to show these people like the fucking trash that lived in this town look down on me before. He's that guy. He has another one of those moments. And the chapter ends with him implying that the deaths of these 7 are just the beginning of something even bigger. And that's the end of chapter 22. And that's the end of the second third of the book. So, Kevin, what do you think so far?
It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
For some reason, it's weird where it's like there's a puzzle happening and we're not going to talk about it explicitly. It feels like
Yeah.
there's some weird order from above where it's like maybe there was more written about the puzzles and they're just like, just kind of skip around all that because we don't want people figuring it out based
I
on
feel
the
like
book.
I feel like they could have just because there's enough for them to work with here that they didn't need to mention the puzzles at all.
Mhm.
And it's like I totally agree. It's just kind of distracting.
Yeah.
That they're there. But yeah,
Yeah, there didn't need to be any real puzzles, just kind of like investigation into the house or what have you.
Right.
The
Right.
only thing I'll say is what really threw me off is so Brian Dutton picks up his letter at one point and he walks out into the hallway and he reads it.
Mhm.
And the Dutton is thinking about how staff was pissed off at him for not delivering on time for the shelves for his store or something like that. But then they also then they also say that Dutton is 30 years old and Stauf is a really old man. And they're like, when did the store thing did Stauf like build the store and close it in like a matter of a year? What's going? What are we?
And here's the thing. They do as we mentioned this in the last episode, but they do it again in this section where they kind of address the fact that like when they're all outside of this mansion, it's like falling apart, but they're like looking at it going, wait, wasn't this just built? Like, why is it falling apart? So it's the second time that we're kind of like given this inkling of like time is weird here and something doesn't make. Now, if that connects in the third act here, then I'll be impressed, to be completely honest, because that's like they planted the seeds and they gave us a payoff, and that would be, I'd be impressed by that. But we've yet to see if that's going to happen.
Right.
So for now, it's just for now there are just like more questions than answers in terms of like wait, the timing of this doesn't make it's like it's the end of the Green Mile where it's like the timing doesn't make sense, does it? The math doesn't add up.
Math ain't mathing, bro.
Yeah, exactly. The seventh guess is as high as they can count.
Otherwise I like it in terms of like some of the scenes are kind of neat, some of the horror is good, like the beautiful woman who then is like starts aging really fast and she like splits open and like I was like in my mind's eye I was like, oh, that's neat, that's gross. Like I'm sure it's really lame in the game.
Right. I don't remember, to be completely honest. It's been a long time. But I should watch it again.
There's stuff in the book. There's moments where it's really neat, but it also has kind of like I don't know. I'm not. It's fine. I don't have much. There's not much thought from me like being generated as I read these pages.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. It's not. I actually totally agree. It's like some of the horror stuff is really good. I think, and I mentioned this last episode, I think the thing that I'm admiring about it is when the adaptation aspect of it works. It really does work. It does not fall into outside of the distracting as hell puzzle things that we've already addressed. It doesn't fall into a lot of the traps we've run into with other video game adaptations, and I'm kind of impressed with that. So we'll be wrapping this up next week. But Kevin, until then, I had a question. I was wondering, what are you playing?
Oh, okay. So I'm still back on my bullshit with Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader. I'm deeper into the DLC. I actually went through a chunk of the DLC content where you that they added with Void Shadows, where you actually go down to a part of the ship called the Freight Line, which is it's just a really neat addition you're supposed to be looking for the Church of the Blood Spinners or whatever, because you get a blood spinner in your party, and it's like, okay, you want to be initiated as someone who listens to death, or whatever. It's the grim dark bullshit that
Right.
we all love.
Oh yeah.
So you have to go down. It's somewhere you have to start your path in the freight line. So you get down to the freight line, and the freight line is literally an area where they take care of the trains that run on your ship. Your ship has a railway inside of it to move cargo and people around.
That's how goddamn big this ship is.
That's how big your void ship is. So you have this. You're going down to the freight line, and you're like meeting all these people, and along the way, there's a few encounters, and you actually are tested. Like, these encounters are actually tests as you go through to find the and you don't necessarily even realize it, because some of them you could actually miss. Like, you just didn't talk to this guy. So like, you talk to this guy and you're like, you offer him comfort or something like that, and you go through, and there's a bunch of there's a 3 in total, and then you get to the end, and the guy is like, oh well, when I was it was like that Jesus thing. It's like, oh, when I was burned and dying, you comforted me. When I was blah blah blah, you did this. So there's like one guy that's burned and dying, and you call the care team to like come down and pick him up and like heal him and put him to work doing something else, because like, well, he didn't die. So it's not his turn to die. So he's just sitting here suffering. And that's the whole thing with the blood spinners. It's like, yeah, we kill people whose time it is, not whose time it is not.
Not unnecessarily.
Right. And then you talk one guy into killing himself because he was supposed to have died.
Oh, wow. Wow. God, fucking 40K is so bleak. I love them for it.
He was a failed blood spinner whose final task, because he was ejected from the blood spinners, was to kill himself, but he never did.
Right.
So now you have to talk him into killing himself, and he does by jumping out in front of one of the trains.
Fucking love it. Fucking love it.
40K, baby!
I love this universe so damn much.
Oh God. So yeah, no, I'm really enjoying the stuff that they added, and there's actually a lot of polish that they've added with patches and the DLC over the past year or so. So if you played 40K back at launch, played Rogue Trader back at launch, and want to, pick it up again, it's worth taking a look at because of the quality of life updates, and there's like added characters now, and all that fun stuff. And nice. Also, I think in 3 months or so, there's going to be the next DLC is coming out in like 3 months, and that's going to be
they are not skimping on the DLC. Like, they are really going hard with it.
They actually had an interview. Alcat had an interview where they talked about like DLC and future projects and all that stuff, and they were like cagey about like saying what their future projects are. They would say what wasn't their future project, and then then they would be like, so I think there might be another 40K stuff coming from them. I'm not sure. I know there's more DLC. If these DLC do well, there will be more DLC for Rogue Trader.
Well, they're a good group to have. The 40K universe, they're doing right by them, so that's cool.
And each DLC. So the first DLC and added 15 hours to the game, and then the second DLC adds another 15 hours. So it's like they keep expanding. And what's interesting is if you played the game, then you know that there's plenty of room to expand, because your ship is flying through this Coronis expanse, and there's like there's plenty of empty planets where they could just go back and be like, okay, no, on this planet you actually have a thing that you can go
It
do now.
never ends. It
Yeah.
never ends. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's cool stuff. I like it. They also talked about Baldur's Gate 3, and they're like, they were asked about it, and they're like, well, Baldur's Gate 3 hasn't necessarily, we're not sure if it has led to direct sales of Rogue Trader, but it definitely has, it has upped the awareness of the genre. But unfortunately, and then they said, but unfortunately, it might have also upped the expectations of the genre.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And they were like, but we're not too worried about that. They said, so anyway.
Good for them. That's excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been playing that, and Call of Cthulhu. I started getting into that a little bit more. It hits right in the little first.
This is the one that came out a few years back.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked that one.
Yeah. It hits just right. It's like it had like mixed reviews when it first came out. I think it was supposed to be pretty buggy. But yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going around, I'm investigating things, I'm clicking on things. I like it, It's
I'll be very interested to hear what you think about it if you're finished with it. It's a very interesting game. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, wasn't it a game that was, or maybe I'm thinking of something else. Am I thinking of Sinking City?
They came out around the same time, I think. So, or at least in the same year.
Yeah, because the Sinking City was the one that. Okay, no, Sinking City came out 3 years later.
Are you serious? Oh no! You know what? It came out on Steam much later, but I feel like it came out. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
now that I'm saying that.
Yeah, I might play the Sinking City as well.
I've heard it's janky, but the people who like it love it. So
yeah. And Frogwares also does the those Sherlock Holmes games that seem to they're pretty good. I played one of them, I think.
I've always been intrigued by them. I never played one.
Yeah. Oh, and there's an old game that they made called Dracula Origin. That's in the same vibe. Oh, interesting. Oh, no, it's special when the screenshots are still in 4:3.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Dracula Origin. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look at these PS2 graphics. Oh. Fucking excellent.
Here we go.
Dig it.
I dig it. Yeah. Sherlock Holmes chapter. Yeah, they do those Sherlock Holmes things that are relatively. Did I? Yes, I've played a bit of chapter 1. Sherlock Holmes chapter 1. It's good.
Right.
I would like to get back. It was janky.
Sure.
I think they're going to be they're one of those Eurojank companies. Are they European? Yeah. Let's assume that they're European.
It's easy to.
But yeah, that's about it. Phil.
Nice.
Brian.
Well, I played a couple of games. I played a demo. So I'll start with the demo. This game's called Death Howl. Have you seen this?
No.
It is I think you're going to like this. I like it. It's a deck builder. It's also referred to as a Souls-like.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I think that's mostly the aesthetic. But I will say that the combat is pretty challenging. Basically you play a mother in this Paleolithic era. Your son, I believe, has died, and you are off on this quest into the spirit world to like bring him back. And you have these different sections of the spirit world that you've got to go through and fight demons and ghosts.
I have this on my wish list. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I looked it up. You're like, nope. I wish listed it.
Mm-hmm. I played. I didn't know that, but I was like, I feel like Kevin, if he doesn't know about this, he should.
Yeah.
It's the graphic style. It's got that good, it's not quite Faith, but
Sure.
it's got a similar pixelated kind of vibe to it, and it's beautiful. It's really well done. It's a fun card builder. The mechanics are fun. The what do you call it? Advancement system is very fun. I played through the entire demo and really enjoyed it. Racked up about 3 hours and barely noticed it. The aesthetic is lovely. You don't see a lot of like ancient era games, like Paleolithic era games.
Sure.
And that's pretty cool. It has a very witched out vibe, which I'm into. And it's, if the finished product, I don't think they've set a release date yet. But if the finished product has more of what they're doing and polishes it up some more and continues with the story the way they have, I think we might have something really special with this. Like I really look forward to that. It was a nice little surprise. So that was a lot of fun. After that, I played Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion because
the first one.
Yeah, I never played that, and it took the better part of an afternoon. So much fun. So good.
It's so cute because like your only input as Turnip Boy is to rip something up.
To rip things up. Yeah.
And
so it's for better or for worse.
Your tax notification at the beginning and you rip it up. And
it's great.
That's how the game starts.
And it just starts this whole fucking chain of events. And it's a terrific little kind of Zelda-like. Whereas the sequel had more roguelike elements to it. This is more of your straightforward Zelda-like thing. And it's fun. The aesthetic is fun. It, honest to God, got me thinking, if I could design a D&D campaign where everyone plays living vegetables or something. Like it was that I have that much fun with the world building they do. It's very silly. It's irreverent. The people who make it kick ass, clearly. They're very cool.
I mean, there's those, because D&D has those, like, don't they have mushroom people?
Yes. Yeah, there are mushroom people. And the mushrooms are like, they treat mushrooms like gods or something like that in this game. Like they refer to them. I don't think we ever see them. I knew I was going to enjoy it. I just, cause I enjoyed
I mean, you love Rob's
so.
Bag.
Right.
Even though they're completely different genres.
Right. But they play very similarly it feels good to play. I knew I was going to enjoy the humor they were throwing down when I encountered some of my first enemies, which were snails going back and forth. And there was a sign warning you about this and warning vegetarians. I was like, and then it took me a beat to realize and I was like, oh, that's actually hilarious. That's very, very good.
Yeah.
So I beat that. That was a lot of fun. And then I played and finished The Thing Remastered.
Oh, okay.
Which I've been looking forward to since they announced it last year. It is not a good game in the sense that I will give it to Night Dive, who has just got it in their head to, remaster all these old horror games and stuff, because they we talked about Harvester last week, and they did that
every time there's a cult classic. Night Dive is like, we're gonna fix it,
and God bless them for it, because the thing about this is this game is filled with a lot of the same stuff that you'd run into that might be a problem if you dusted off your Xbox and played this game as it was. You'd run into a lot of problems like that you're just not used to with games nowadays. And they've butched it up a little bit. They've helped out with they've got some autosave features in there. They've just got good quality of life improvements. They upgraded the visuals. It's not exactly, you're not looking at PS5 level graphics here,
Sure.
but it's not distracting in the way that the original would be. It looks great.
Yeah.
It feels good to play. Having said that, it is a silly game in terms of the storyline, and it's also just there are some things that are old enough that you can't put a new coat of paint on it. Like the fact that the everything is solved with a gun in this
Sure.
game. I think if anything, playing through this game, because at first it's really super intriguing. You're playing, it's the sequel to the John Carpenter's The Thing movie, and you're playing a soldier sent down there to find out what the hell happened, and everything has gone crazy, and it's pretty intriguing because they take their time building up the suspense, and you have to worry about the cold, and you have to worry about your teammates' stress, and it's really interesting. But it doesn't go that far. The stress meter it has a lot of flaws. You can test your teammates to see if they are infected, which is a cool idea. However, if the game says that they're infected, it can happen at any minute. So like you can, I literally tested a guy and found him to be fine. He never left my eye, for 5 minutes, and then suddenly he transformed. And, it was, and it's just silly in that sense. And then you get to a point where all of the subtlety, and creeping dread that they had built up in the first third of it or so, it just gets dropped out the window, and it's all guns blazing, and it becomes a full-on action game. And it's not that great of an action game.
Right.
So it got me to thinking like how nowadays, with the technology we have nowadays, I think a thing game for this generation might be in order, that has some like, the paranoid kind of aspects of it, the choose your own adventure aspects. What was the Rockstar, detective game?
LA Noire.
LA Noire. You can have some LA Noire interrogation shit, and there's a lot of fun things you can do with it that don't come down to just like getting a fucking swarm of head spiders running at you, which is what eventually happens in this game. I'd say the first quarter of the game is excellent, and then it all just kind of falls down a hill, and that's fine. I knew that was coming. I just have really good memories of this game. It was one of the first games I played on my original Xbox that I was like super excited about, and it didn't disappoint. So it was nice to be able to relive that. So super fun. So yeah, that's what I'm playing.
Oh, fantastic. So by the way, as I was clicking through my Steam Discovery queue as we were talking, I found a game called Blood Bar Tycoon, where it is a vampire bar management game.
Oh, for
Build
God's
bars,
sake.
blood factories, lure humans to harvest their blood, process it, and serve your customers. They're vampires. Research quirky machines and deal with hunters. Expand through Crimson City to become a mighty elder. I felt like that was like I needed to tell you about that.
Yeah, this looks like it could be fun as hell. It makes me think, obviously it's got a lot of the old school simulator vibes, but it also makes me think a little bit of that game a couple of years back that was basically Sweeney Todd the game. It was on my game.
And I knew you like that one. Yeah.
I like that one. So I might have to no demo, which sucks, but I think I'll have to take a look at this. This sounds silly and fun. I like it. Yeah, cool.
You're a demo king.
That's what I've become. There's always going to be Phil's demo corner on the
Phil's
show.
Little demo and there's an idle game called Chonkers, which is just about like cats.
I love it. It.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
This is like not my discovery queue. This is your discovery queue.
Yeah, you're finding all kinds of shit that I want.
But anyway, that'll do it for tonight's show. Thank you so much for listening. Please follow us on Blue Sky, and follow us on Patreon for the best and freshest up-to-date notifications from whatever we are doing. And if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give us a like and a comment. That would be great. I want to get those YouTube numbers up there so I can start fattening it up with ads.
That would be nice. Isn't that what you want, people? Isn't that what you want?
Ads?
Yeah. Come on.
No ads. No ads. And no ads.
Come on. Ads, but fun ads. Fun ads. Cool ads. Not like other ads.